Hey, all, welcome to the Common Good Podcast. It's an unusual day for us to be on the air today. Monday, a quick Monday afternoon podcast of the Common Good Podcast. Doug Pagitt here, Robb Ryerse. I'm in Minneapolis. Beautiful day out, sunny. I don't know, 50, something like that. Lovely.
It's a beautiful day here in somewhere outside of Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's sunny and, I don't know, mid-70s,
Wow.
which is really great after having several days of torrential rain,
Wow.
including, listen, you know I love my Apple products, but my goodness, when the iPhone alert goes off at 1:15 in the morning with a tornado warning, whoo,
That gets you
wakes
moving.
up.
Yep.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yep.
You get tornado warnings in Minneapolis much?
Oh,
Probably
sure,
not.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah. No.
Would
It's
you
big,
do you have
big
a
tornado
do you have a
here.
go-to move? Do you have a go-to move? I tell you, I've got a go-to move that my family makes fun of me for, but I think it's ingenious. Go-to move in a tornado threat.
No, I don't. No. I tend to be overly cavalier about big storms. Even I like to look out the windows and watch them. And man, my kids freak out. They will tell you. Adult children will tell you that I traumatized them by going outside in a big storm when they were children. They will recount the story as if I was, not the hero, but the villain in that tale. So, but my basement right here. This is it. This is all we got. This is the basement
I'm with
of
you
freedom is all I've got.
I'm with you on that, but I'll tell you my go-to move in a tornado warning: put on your shoes.
That is ridiculous. Gage, you got to make a run for it, or is it gravity? Is it lightning strike? What is it?
If your house gets hit,
okay,
and there is, and you are left with rubble everywhere.
Oh,
you're like, and it's the middle of the night. You're going to want shoes on.
Of course.
You're not going to be able to find your shoes.
This is why we bring this to you, friends.
You're going to need shoes on. When you get the tornado warning, put on your shoes.
Yeah. This is reason enough for you to be part of the Common Good Podcast.
Oh, it's brilliance like this is why we're ranked the 29th best progressive Christian podcast.
I don't know if you know, but I've asked for a recount on that. I think I think
well, maybe we should have them stop the count. Maybe we're too high.
I think if they include last week, we've probably jumped. Hey, we're going to talk about all kinds of things today.
Doug, why are we talking on a Monday though? Why are we talking on Easter Monday?
Yeah, Easter Monday, and not just because the Pope has died, but we will talk a bit about that. But because I have to fly in an airplane tomorrow, and I'm feeling a little uneasy because this morning I got a notification that a Delta Airlines flight, of which I am a frequent flyer, which I am a 1,000,000-mile flyer. I have flown 1,000,000+ miles and have a little bag tag in appreciation for that. Caught on fire this morning in Orlando, sitting on the runway, on the tarmac. Yeah. Started a fire in the plane. I saw videos of it. I'm a little freaked out and feeling a little unsettled. And frankly, this afternoon I feel as if J.D. Vance is lurking outside my house because coming down here to do this podcast, again, I'm in the basement. I don't know how many stairs. I've walked up and down those stairs so many times. 9 stairs maybe in my little, up to the main level. I wear these, because it's Minnesota, I wear wool socks, smart wool socks, from sometime late October until mid-May. And they're a little slick. Maybe listeners can see where this is going. I had my phone in my hand, and at my age, I'm now like, stop texting on stairs. Don't text on stairs. I walked up, got right to the thing. I was looking to see if I was going to text you, as a matter of fact. You're not the fault, but I was looking at my phone to think about you. My right foot stepped on the first carpeted stair, which is rolled, and it's slick, and I down those stairs. And it just shook me. I mean, I am just, I'm shaking like an AC/DC song over here. And the current worst part of it is that my elbows, the flat part of my elbows right here, went down behind me and just thudded down every stair. I mean, I was feeling them in every elbow. And now the chair that I sit in, I have these little arms on the chair and my elbow is now sitting in. So I'm going to be grimacing, talking about J.D. Vance visiting the Pope, talking about Kristi Noem, talking about Donald Trump violating court orders, talking about the defense secretary who is going to be out of a job sooner than some cardinal who's about to become Pope. He's going to be out of that job. So
before we jump into all that, Doug,
and if it makes anyone laugh to think about a tall, later middle-aged man falling down his stairs and thumping down them, I give you permission to laugh at this. I am okay as far as I can tell right now. But
it's almost always funny when people fall down.
But I'm going on a flight tomorrow morning, so now my body's going to be all sore and I'm going to be all grimacy. My elbows are going to hurt sitting on the airplane. I can tell already. I'm already planning to complain on the airplane that my elbows are going to be bruised sitting on that airplane, flying to California to do an event with one of our favorites around here, Catherine Stewart, who some of you know, out in Irvine, California. So if you're out there in Irvine, pop up and say hello. And then doing a bunch of other stuff out there in California. So we had to move the podcast to today. So thank you for your flexibility.
Yeah. And before we jump into all the really important stuff and the ridiculous, big news. Last week we announced that we were the 29th ranked progressive Christian podcast. I just checked while you were telling us the story of you going down the stairs. I just checked and find out that we are climbing. Doug, we are no longer the 29th ranked progressive Christian podcast.
Tell me the truth, Pastor.
In 1 week only, we are up to 28.
We're the 28.
But here's the bad
news. Did one of them get canceled? Did one of the podcasts, somebody get outed?
Clackamas United Church of Christ, Clackamas United Church of Christ, our foreign enemies.
Our nemesis,
They're up to 22. We moved up. They moved up.
They moved up even further. This is like that soccer show where Ryan Reynolds owns the soccer team, the football team.
Yeah.
This is drama.
Yeah.
This is drama. Well, let's get to Clackamas.
Clackamas. We're coming for you, Clackamas.
Yeah, you might think you're going to get out of the top 20 before us.
Mm-mm.
We're going to do it because people listening to this right now are going to share this podcast, and not just the video. You got to share the this is just all Rob's talking about is the audio version of the podcast. So we'll get this up within minutes. No, we'll get it up by sometime later tonight. So you could
before you get on that plane.
So yes, or thump down the stairs. So all right, shaking off a descent into the basement.
Yeah.
The Pope.
And let me know, Doug, when you want when you just want the palate cleanser of dumb thing in the administration this week.
Okay.
So we can use that as a palate cleanser at any point during our conversations.
Will we get to vote on the dumbest thing in the?
I have at least one, and so we'll see.
Okay. Hey.
Though I might. Now I've got two. Yeah, we'll have. Yeah, I just thought of another one.
Pope Francis. 88 years old. Again, 88-year-olds don't need to have full-time jobs. Can we work on a social safety net that doesn't require this and let these people move on? But the Pope gave it all that he had, all the way to the end, and has passed away. He's my favorite Pope. I have never had favorite popes before. Mm-hmm. I know some people are a John Paul I and a John Paul II in my lifetime. But this guy was really great, and he was about the common good, not just in word, but in action. It's fantastic what he did. I hope the next Pope put this out in our email newsletter. It went out today. By the way, if you don't get the Vote Common Good email, go over to votecommongood.com right now. Sign up for the email. We'll stay in touch. This guy was about the common good, and we hope that the Cardinals, who are going to pick the next one, keep somebody in that same vein.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is all kind of grading on a curve, so to speak, because there's many things that this Pope did not do that I wish he would have done. Things like opening the Catholic Church completely to the LGBTQ community. blessing their marriages and welcoming them in as full participants in the body of Christ as they are, recognizing what's already true. I wish that this Pope had
Yep.
led on the ordination of women and the opportunity for women to serve in the priesthood. I mean, so many things, that I wish this Pope had led on. And yet, he led with, while I disagree with him on many of the actual content of the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he seemed to lead with such graciousness,
Mm-hmm.
such openness,
Mm-hmm.
such like the least dogmatic Pope I could imagine.
Yeah.
Like when the Pope has this this role of being the one that stands as the representative of God and who's infallible when speaking on in terms of doctrine and in church leadership, and yet I mean it's someone who's like, there's people all over the world will argue that when the Pope speaks, he's doing so with the same infallibility as Scripture.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And this Pope did not come off as an asshole.
Yeah. Right.
He didn't come off as
Right.
someone who really liked that idea that
Yes.
he came off open and gracious and willing to listen, and wow, just the kind of leader that I think we all wish we had more of, not in terms of the content, but just the attitude, the
Right.
spirit. Our world would be so much better if if we all could adopt that same kind of approach.
Yeah. I'm reminded of something that a church sociologist and historian named Martin Marty said about Billy Graham. He said, the thing I'm most grateful for is that Billy Graham, with all of his charisma, all of his power, all of the way people were attracted to him and his message, I'm really glad he wasn't an asshole. I was at a meeting where he said that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen what that looks like right now,
Yes.
currently in the administration and a whole lot of other things. The same with the Pope at a much higher level, right, at a global level. And look, I'm not going to get into Catholic Church polity and politics and how they should make doctrinal changes and all the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a global church you have to run, and they have a whole lot of interests that are. It just shows that some things are just too big. Some banks are too big to fail. That's a problem. Some religious institutions have too many cross currents to try to deal with. That it just ceases to work. So it strikes me that just generally speaking, the papacy and as a religious command and control center, that's tough. I mean, look, Methodists can't figure out how to include gay people in their churches. Try that at a global level with the Catholic Church, the single largest religion in the world, and it speaks for all of them. And, it's just, look, it's unreconcilable, the problems. They've just reached a point of nothing but stagnancy on those issues, I think. But the way you are in your work really matters. And if you don't think it does, look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote on Twitter about the Pope. Marjorie Taylor Greene writes, "Today, there were major shifts in global leadership. Evil is being defeated by the hand of God." Now, I would have thought reading that Donald Trump had passed away, but it turns out no. She was saying the Pope. Yeah. Okay, first of all, I wouldn't have thought that about Donald Trump. And if you want to apply that an 88-year-old man dying is evil being defeated by the hand of God, I'd love to do a Bible study with you, Representative Green, because I think you might be a little green in your
Yeah.
faith and understanding.
Yeah. Well, you know, we in our church we talk about how you believe is just as important as what you
That's
believe.
it. Yeah.
And you know, you see the sharp contrast here between the spirit in which Pope Francis lived his life and led the church along, compared to, the spirit and the attitude that you get from Representative Taylor Greene, and just that cruelness that's there, that unquestioned commitment to, I have the truth, I have God on my side, and I'm just gonna say whatever I want.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah, and I mean, the troubling thing, the concerning thing is when you think about, who follows up, who becomes uh, Pope next. You wonder, is there going to be there was a swing from Pope Benedict to Pope Francis. Um, there was a swing in approach, and the kind of that sense of like, Pope Francis being much more open and progressive than Pope Benedict was. Are we gonna have a swing back?
Oh.
And and what will that look like, and what will that mean for the church? I read a list of 15 possible replacements for Pope Francis earlier today, and I was just stunned and horrified to see the 15th name on the list, which was Timothy Dolan from the Archbishop of New York City, who is known to be a partisan, cantankerous kind of guy.
Yeah. I don't think.
And I don't think there's any chance.
Not a chance. There's not a chance the Cardinals are giving the papacy to the United States.
Yeah, but I mean, there is one of the.
It's a global church.
One of the leading candidates is from Africa.
Yeah.
And he is also known as being very, very conservative.
Yes, and you could end up with something like that pretty easily.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yep. Well, okay, we'll find out in a week or 15 days or something. You know who else is going to find out something?
Are we confident that J.D. Vance did not kill the Pope?
We can't be sure. We can know that, like, the angel of death shows up the night before, so did J.D. Vance show up to visit the Pope after the Pope really didn't want to meet with him. Right. And I guess that's making a point out of it. That's a papal. That's a real papal point.
Going anyway. Going anyway.
Couldn't have put it off for another week. But the fact that that I guess they met on Holy Saturday, Rome time. I think. I don't think they met on Easter. And then the Pope died Easter, or did the Pope die Monday?
I think it was technically Monday. We can say with confidence, within hours of meeting J.D. Vance, the Pope
was
said,
no longer alive.
I'd rather be dead.
And
is that what the Pope said? I don't know. Many people have said this.
Many people have said that this is what the Pope said.
Many people have said that J.D. Vance killed the Pope. That's
yeah. Look, he begged for a meeting, and the degree to which that guy will be like Trump with the assassination attempt and everything else, to somehow write the hand of God in it, that somehow he won't pitch it as that's really a bad omen on me. He's going to pitch it as God kept him alive until I had a chance to meet him. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the way he's going to pitch this thing. Yep. But here's the other thing. I have a friend who was in her mid-80s, and she died, and she was like with family that night, like watching movies. Everything was fine. Laid down in a recliner, died. Like that, people just die. Like you're in a work meeting, and then the next day you're dead. Like that kind of stuff throws you, right? There's even if you're 88 and the pontiff, it still gets you. And you'd hope J.D. Vance would would take some solemnity on this issue, but I can't imagine that he is. Hey, the malfeasance of the current Secretary of Defense,
Oops,
as
I
we
did
knew,
it again.
was more than we had heard. Like when you use your Signal app to communicate war plans
Yeah.
with one
Listen,
group, chances are
Yeah.
you've done it with others. And if you don't know that rule, I don't know, talk to somebody who works in the people helping professions. Do people tend to do stupid things? For sure. Do people tend to do stupid things just once? Reminds me of a story that I think I've told here before. My friend fell down his stairs, and then at the bottom, I heard him mumble, "Wow, that hasn't happened in a long time." And so now, as a man who has fallen down my own stairs, that's kind of Pete Hegseth. Wow. Well, boy, I haven't violated national security rules and been a traitor in weeks.
So for maybe folks haven't heard the news, but Pete Hegseth, who has questionable tattoos and is a former weekend host on Fox News.
Like us.
Weekend co-host on Fox News.
Can't even carry his
and
own
is
show.
now Secretary of Defense, leading the largest, strongest military in the world. He got in trouble when he sent war plans and kind of in telling folks in a Signal app conversation, which is like a group text, telling them what was about to happen and what was happening when we bombed some folks in Yemen, not knowing that a reporter was somehow added to that group and then reported on it. Now word is broken over the weekend that Pete Hegseth apparently has used the Signal app to send warplanes not just to the Secretary of State, the Vice President, people that you could understand him sharing this information with. No, he used the Signal app to tell this information to a group that included apparently his wife as well as his brother and
his lawyer.
Now
and a PR company.
Now folks are saying that maybe Pete Hegseth isn't qualified or competent to be Secretary of Defense.
Perhaps his previous life behaviors, which were brought into public view. His problem with alcohol, which is well documented. His bad behavior in public places when inebriated. His treatment of people, and his overall inability to do basic tasks.
Did you?
And he's running the largest bureaucracy in the United States.
There was an article last week about how Pete Hegseth will drop a bagel on the ground, and it will land cream cheese down, and he'll pick it up and eat it. Now, listen, I'm not a germaphobe. I'm totally a 5-second rule kind of person. I'm not freaked out by stuff hitting the ground. If the cream cheese side hits,
you're at least gonna try to cut it off,
scrape it off, and put a new schmear on. That's gonna give me some pause.
Yes,
that's who we're talking about.
Yeah,
but
and it gets even
besides
worse.
That questionable behavior, undeniably questionable behavior, is using quote unquote encrypted app like Signal to share war plans with people who don't need the war plans.
Yeah.
It feels to me braggadocious and like, look at me, and what I'm doing.
Yep.
Not okay.
Yeah. Look, he is a danger to the confidence that people should have in our military. And one of his appointed chiefs resigned after working with Hegseth and then was offered a promotion, resigned, and wrote an op-ed saying, this guy has got to go. And said, by the way, there is more coming, and it's probably coming this week. The reporters already have all the information that's going to come out this week.
Yep. And
the Trump administration is going to throw him down, and he's going to be out of a job in Scamoochie-like fashion. But the fact that he's made it 90 days, well, he hasn't been in for 90 days. I don't know how long he's actually been in the position. 40 days, 35 days, something like that.
Yeah. NPR is reporting that the White House is already looking for a new Secretary of Defense, which means Donald Trump is watching Fox News.
Yes.
But they have begun the hey, we got to make a short list of
let's get this behind us in a hurry, because every time we don't, it shows how unbelievably incompetent we are in the level of malfeasance.
And if they have to let Hegseth go, the fastest way to be able to have a move on from that story is to have a replacement ready to go.
Yes.
If they have to let Hegseth go and they're not ready to go with a replacement, then the story is all about how incompetent Hegseth is.
Yeah.
But if they have to let him go, and then the press secretary can say, listen, he's the former Secretary of Defense. We're not talking about him. We're talking about how great this guy, I don't know, Ducey. Is it Peter Ducey?
Peter Ducey.
How great Peter Ducey is. And, like Greg Gunfeld, whatever that guy's name, Jesse Waters. Let me tell you how great Jesse Waters is and how great he
maybe
will be.
Maybe they get big balls over from Doge. Just slide him in and say, let's fill it up. If you don't know that phrase, that's a self nickname of somebody who's deciding what programs in the United States government should exist. A man who chooses to refer to himself as big balls. Incredible. Just truly. And look, if the administration had not been trying to say, we don't want diversity, equity, and inclusion, we want merit-based hiring. And across the board, no one can be more competent at their job than Donald Trump is at his, which is why you have people who are so profoundly incompetent at their jobs.
Yeah.
And they want to claim merit-based hiring because they've redefined merit as, does the person function as a sycophant for Donald Trump? That's the only merit necessary. There's one badge on the merit badge of Trumpism. Do you defer to Donald Trump? I mean, look, Marco Rubio's next. We all know that guy's not going to make it. He's not going to make it through 4th of July. They're going to come after him too, because he will not. They're either going to be so incompetent like Hegseth, or you're not going to kiss up to Trump in a satisfactory way, and they're going to go. And they're going to just rifle through people just like they did in the first administration, because they don't hire the very best people, because that all makes Donald Trump look ridiculous. And this is going to happen. And look, if it was like the director of the Interior, okay. If the director of the Interior isn't great at their job, there's some ramifications. When the defense secretary, who is basically the voice of the president directly to our military in the most sophisticated and expensive part of the government with lethality, and this guy is just roaming around, and yesterday was at the Easter egg hunt at the White House. Do you know who was not at the Easter egg hunt at the White House? Donald Trump.
Jesus.
He's out playing golf. Jesus. He was out playing golf. Lied to the press about where he was, but he was out playing golf. So this guy is so out of, and here's the worst part. Republicans knew it.
Yes.
They were given There's senators who voted for him who said, I have seen things that make me very concerned.
Yes.
But I'm going to defer to the administration because, oh my gosh, Donald Trump. Like, do your job. 3 of the 53 Republican senators said no to him. It just took one more. Couldn't find 1 in 50, knowing what they knew. And now this. And they're going to act like, well, what are we to do about it? And I bet they're going to vet the next one in exactly the same way.
Yes.
I bet there's no lesson learned. But here's what they're going to do. Here's my money on it. They're going to pick a general. They're going to find some retired general, and they're going to try to get a pass on him like the Obama administration did because it's supposed to be civilian leadership. Maybe they'll find one who's been out of the military long enough, and they're going to try to slide him in because they're going to try to cover themselves with this Defense Department is all about the military and not all about the civilians and the other people and yada, 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 all the stuff they're talking about. So I bet they're going to go with a true military background person, some old retired general. Hey, Trump continues to defy
maybe there's
Supreme Court.
There's a cardinal in Africa that might be interested.
Do you think they'll send J.D. Vance over to Pete's office and he'll just knock on the door and say, "Hey, just want to chat. I want to tell you about my meeting with the Pope."
Just dropping by to
People
say
would be
hello.
like, "Oh."
Yeah, JD Vance shows up at your office.
Like, "Oh, just fire me. Just don't send JD. Just fire me." It's probably too soon to make jokes about the death of the Pope, but we're doing it anyway. Hey, the other day, Trump put up this picture. Of it's hard to see on that screen there of the man that they are holding in custody in El Salvador, who by the way,
I would like to rant about this for a moment.
By the way, when the senator went and visited him, he looked surprisingly in good shape, wearing khakis and a button up. I was like, okay, I had a different impression about what situation he was in. Why they couldn't just let them go with the senator to the airport is still unclear to me. But apparently they just, you just can't work a deal with the El Salvadorians when you're paying them $6.5 million to house your detainees. Yeah. They can't. But Trump spreads these lies about Kilmar Garcia's hands by showing the tattoos on his hands and then over it writing MS-13.
Yeah.
Superimposing it. As if it is marijuana leaf, a smiley face, a cross, and a skull means MS-13. It doesn't.
Okay. First of all, the Democrats and progressives that are on social media suggesting that Donald Trump doctored this photo or that these are doctored tattoos that were doctored by the Trump administration. Just stop. You're making yourselves look dumb. There's no suggestion that this man has the actual letters MS-13, letters and numbers, tattooed on his fingers.
Absolutely not.
The people that are suggesting that Donald Trump is suggesting that are just getting it completely wrong. What the MS-13 is describing is it's showing the symbolism represented in these tattoos. There's a marijuana leaf. Marijuana starts with the letter M. There's a smile. The word smile begins with the letter S. There's a cross. Now, cross doesn't begin with the letter or with the number 1, but it does kind of look like a 1. And then there's a skull. And you can see prominently on the skull that there are 3 holes, 2 eyes and a nose.
There's 4.
What they're
There's a
suggesting,
mouth.
they might be they're probably completely wrong on this. Alex in the chat is saying it's not even Garcia's hand. I don't know any of that, but let's not pretend that they're suggesting that this guy has MS13 actually tattooed on his knuckles. They're trying to show what the symbolism is. Marijuana, smile, cross, skull, MS13.
Yes, which it doesn't. In no world other than Donald Trump's little,
I don't know,
cartoon attack.
I don't know if we know that.
Well,
I don't know if we know that.
Well,
I don't know if we know that.
Well, that's the point. That's the point.
Right.
When the president of the United States holds up a photo and says, I'm going to tell you that's what this means. And when experts who study MS-13, like a man who wrote an entire book about MS-13, will tell you, and other MS-13 gang members who literally have MS-13 tattoos,
maybe this guy's trying to innovate,
will tell you, we don't use code. We are trying to be very clear about who we are.
Yeah.
And then when you see that same man's hand in a photo taken by the president of El Salvador, or at least released by the president of El Salvador, that was taken this last weekend or last week when he was meeting the senator from Maryland, and there's no tattoos on the man's hands. It's the whole thing. Look, this is like Trump trying to say this is where the hurricane was going to go. This is all the same photo nonsense. Unbelievable nonsense. If any of this was in a court record, they would be holding up the court record. It's this kind of thing that is the malfeasance and incompetence of this president. If he believes that he should be using a wartime act in order to remove people from the United States because the United States is under attack by gangs from Venezuela, and he's going to determine them to be enemy combatants, be better at your job. This is not how you find MS-13 people. Someone that you've been trying to get out of the country since 2019, and a judge told you you cannot deport them. You didn't say then in any court records, and you didn't say it 2 months ago in any court records, that you have any proof that he's a part of MS-13. None of it. Be better at your job. If you truly believe that we have to get Venezuelan gang members who are in a coordinated attack with their government on the United States as soldiers on the ground, led in a conspiracy with the Biden administration. Because that's what he says, they believe, and that's why they're using this War Times Act to remove them from the country. And the government or the judges have said, no, it's not how this works. Right. And he continues to play the game. It's just this. Okay. It truly, it's just hard to even know how to respond. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene's words. It's like one would think that simply sharing it would say it all. Yeah. You know, it's like the old Coke Pepsi test. Like, try them both and then pick. Yep. If you have that kind of confidence.
Yeah. Well, Doug, let me give you a little palate cleanser,
please,
and give you what's the dumbest thing in MAGA world this week. We introduced this new little feature on the podcast last week with the dumbest thing in the Trump administration, and you picked as the winner Linda McMahon, confusing artificial intelligence and A1 steak sauce.
AI and A1 confuse those because that's what the Trumpers do. They confuse the meaning of words and symbols.
Today, we've got two nominees. They don't come directly from the administration, but from two of Donald Trump's biggest supporters, one in Congress, one in the United States Senate. You want to start with the Congress or the congressperson or the senator?
Let's do the congressperson.
Nancy Mace, congresswoman from South Carolina, posted on social media this week. She shared footage. This is coming from an article on HuffPo, shared footage of an expletive-laden confrontation between her and an unhinged lunatic voter over the weekend. Here's the quote from X. Some unhinged lunatic wearing Daisy Dukes at a makeup store got in my face today. Dems are nuts, so I went off and I won't be backing down. She added in her caption, I hold the line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Try me. In the clip, things spiral out of control after the man questions if she would be holding more town hall meetings this year while she was out shopping over the weekend. I do them every year. Do you want to keep going? Do you want to keep going? Keep harassing me? The conservative lawmaker said, telling the unidentified man in the video that he could have gone to a dozen town halls last year. The man responded, I asked if you were doing any more this year. It was one simple question. Prompting Mace to then imply that he was gay, despite him never mentioning his sexuality during their heated exchange. And by the way, I voted for gay marriage twice, she said, to which he replied, what does that have to do with me? The dispute between Mace and the man further ignited after the politician accused him of being absolutely effing crazy. You people on the left are crazy. You're absolutely effing crazy. You are, and get out of my face. Goodbye. F you.
To a constituent.
Yeah.
In a public place. Responding as a person.
She filmed it herself and posted it.
As a person, she's functioning as a person in her professional capacity. Like choosing to say, I am now going to speak to you as a congressperson by telling you what I did in my job.
Yes.
So she put herself in her public role with a constituent and verbally berated and swore at him in a public place and then shared it.
Yeah.
Because he said, are you going to be holding any town halls
this year?
Think she might be a little sensitive. And look, my guess is other people filmed it. It's just let me just paint a picture of what I think happened. Other people filmed it. So did she. And she's like, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
This particular congressperson has a history of having bad episodes with people. Her staff has said it. Her constituents have said it. Other members of Congress have said it. So now she's like, well, I need to be the one to get this out there, and I need to spin it in a way that is going to make me as insulated from this as I can be. Had there been any normal process in the House of Representatives, like in any other job, the supervisors, in this case, the Ethics Committee, the Speaker of the House, would have condemned that behavior from anyone. No matter what the product is you're representing, the thing you're selling, the people you represent. Can you imagine a hospital administrator speaking to somebody who uses the hospital that way? Can you imagine a store owner speaking that way? This is the thing about these Republicans. Here's what they tell us all the time, Rob. We just think it could run like a business. We just think we need to bring in the smart business minds because if we run this thing like a business, then it's going to be successful. Well, you know what? Donald Trump would have been fired from any job that he held if this was a business. The board would have met and removed him. Someone who performs the way Representative Mace did would have been removed from her job for cause in any legitimate business. So you don't want this to run like a business, Representative Mace, because you want to be able to swear at people in your professional capacity in a public place and call them crazy. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you behave that way and then you shared it publicly as if it was
no big deal.
literally as a badge of honor, you would be fired.
Is that dumber? Is that dumber?
I forgot that's what we were talking about.
Is that dumber than this? Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin.
No, it's not dumber than Senator Ron Johnson having done anything.
Suggested Monday that the U.S. government may have played a role in the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks during an interview with MAGA influencer Benny Johnson on The Benny Show. The senator, who sits on the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation, questioned the official explanation for the collapse of the World Trade Center Building 7 and echoed claims frequently raised by conspiracy theorists on the fringes of the internet. Quote, within these agencies, a lot of them are going to cover their tracks and cover things up and destroy a lot of evidence, the senator said. It's going to be very frustrating for the American public because this is their information. They deserve the truth. It's been hidden from them for too long. Senator Johnson praised Benny Johnson, no relation, I suppose, for opening up the aperture on 9/11 and referenced firefighter statements about the events of September 11th. Quote, I know you and I are both considered conspiracy theorists, Johnson said, but that's exactly how they keep this stuff covered up. The two also discussed the possibility of congressional hearings into the 9/11 attacks. Then going on, he said, quote, start with Building 7, he said. I don't know if you can find structural engineers other than the ones that had the corrupt investigation into NIST that would say that that thing didn't come down in any other way than a controlled demolition. He cited reports on molten steel and blah, blah, blah.
Termeculite. If he didn't say the word termeculite, he's missed an opportunity. Look, the Venn diagram of the people that I know who will tell me about 9/11 conspiracy in the towers, and especially use the phrase Tower 7, which was the third building, and termeculite, and controlled demolition, these words, they don't just get them from Joe Rogan. They get them from all these same places. The Venn diagram of those people and MAGA is perfect. If you want to say to yourself, where was MAGA before Donald Trump coined it as MAGA? 9/11 conspiracy theorists. Do you remember when Donald Trump said that he saw a bunch of Muslim Americans cheering it on? Mm-hmm. Do you remember when Donald Trump said he was going to release all the hidden details, like the Kennedy files and all the other conspiracy theories? What's happened to this crowd, including Ron Johnson and all the other 9/11ers, and now they're all just conspiracy theorists, they're all just election deniers and all the rest of it. They have made conspiracy theorists as a badge of honor. It's a feature. Yeah. There's this passage in the book of Corinthians, Rob, I'd like to turn your attention.
First, second, or third? 1, 2, or 3 Corinthians?
Excuse me. There's a passage in the book of Acts.
Oh, bummer.
Somewhere around 9.
I was hoping it was 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians.
And the Apostle Paul was in Corinth. And it was in Corinth where they were referred to, this is what the book of Acts says, where they were referred to as Christians for the first time.
Yeah.
It was a derogatory term as best we can understand from antiquity. They were making fun of them, that they said the risen Christ, you can't find him anywhere post-Easter Monday because he lives in us. Christ is in us. And that was seen as ridiculous. So they mocked them. And after all the mocking, over time, when Christians took over power, especially in 300 AD, some 3 centuries later, became the name you brag by. Mm-hmm. That's what these conspiracy theorists have done.
Yep.
Oh, I'm proud. I'm a proud conspiracy theorist because the conspiracies are real. Yep. Which is more stupid? Ron Johnson. Yeah. My first intuition was right. As soon as you said Ron Johnson, yes, for sure. That guy.
Guy.
Let's talk merit-based again. Let's just talk merit-based.
Hey, good people of Wisconsin, do better.
How did he become a senator? by marrying a very rich woman and then parlaying that into political power. I've met with his staff. I've lobbied on the Hill in his office. They're very nice people. Ron is not a very bright man. It might be a lot of things. I don't know. But it's pretty clear that, astrophysicist Paul Wallace from the Common Good podcast is a bright, smart man without knowing everything about him. It's pretty clear that Ron Johnson is not.
And now confirmed as the dumbest person and the dumbest thing in MAGA world this week.
Yeah, that you're out talking about that. Now we're going to be 8 years of Trumpism, and we're going to end up with no more proof that is so ready and available. If you ask the self-appointed conspiracy theorists about building number 7. I mean, there are some other explanations about how a building like that that's built on the same set of foundations as the Twin Towers when they come down were to collapse. Yes. And the fact that they all came down as designed for all the terror and horror that was unbelievably successful for how those buildings are designed to fall. Incredible. I mean, the church right next to it, Trinity Church, became the first responder site. Thing's been there for, like 400 years. It's crazy. It was fine. I mean, a little part of it got broken, but most of it was fine because the building right next to it just came straight down because that's how they come down. That's how they're designed if there's some kind of a cataclysmic fault. That's it working right. This is the thing about nearly every conspiracy theory. They're always about how it worked right and why that couldn't possibly be the explanation. Almost always. There's rarely conspiracy theories about the thing that didn't go the way that the people tell you it's going to go. And they're like, there's proof that it was a conspiracy because that's what they told you it was going to do. And then it did it. How do they know? Pass me a beer. All right. I only got a couple minutes left because I got a thing. Kristi Noem.
Oh, yeah.
Fast rise from South Dakota.
Yeah.
South Dakota
Homeland
governor.
Security.
Braggadocious dog killer. Is in charge of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
And managed to get her purse stolen from right underneath her chair.
Yeah.
In a restaurant.
Yeah.
With Secret Service support. Felt something touch her leg. Still didn't know. They had to look on the security footage to see a man with a COVID mask on snatch her purse. In which, Rob, ask yourself this. Why is she carrying $3,000 plus in cash? She said she's going to pay for some meals, some Easter gifts for her grandkids that are going to be in town. Do you pay for that stuff in cash? I mean, there's some parts of the town and country. There's a couple of Mexican restaurants I really like that, and Chinese restaurants, they're cash only. I get that. Are you dropping $3,000 on that? Elon Musk raised a question a couple of weeks ago here on the podcast. I'm kind of confused as to how people who are senators and make $200,000 a year become worth $20 million. And I think they're getting money from USAID kickbacks. This moron.
Yeah.
When did the governor of South Dakota, who now has a government job, have the kind of literal cash to spend on $3,000 for some meals and some gifts for her grandkids? Let me ask you, Rob, did you drop $3,000 over the weekend?
Oh, goodness, no.
In cash?
No.
Well, she's rolling around with a purse that has her passport in it, her Homeland Security badge, or unwritten checks, as many people would, cash. I don't think there was a mention in the news story I saw of credit cards.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this looks like a run bag, But a lot of people would say you put together a little bag with a bunch of cash in it and your passport, and when you're, if you're going on the run, maybe her and Lewandowski are gonna because do you know who Corey Lewandowski is to Kristi Noem?
I know what the rumors are.
People have said her lover, but I don't know or care too much about that right now. Her chief of staff.
Oh.
Maybe there's
definitely
some things,
not a DEI hire. Definitely not.
Definitely not. Merit-based only.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some things you want to pay for that you don't want a record of. I mean, I pretty much use my Venmo account for that. Hey, like, let's keep the birthday gifts. Yeah, who looks at my Venmo account? Let's keep the birthday gifts a secret from the credit card thing. I mean, you're talking about the gifts I buy for myself. No, I don't even use my Venmo account for that.
Cash.
Even though I do consider it free money. Yeah, you need cash. I mean, look, Kristi, get the points. Get yourself a card that earns some cash back. If you're dropping $3,000 on some meals over the weekend with your grandkids, you're just leaving points behind. Pick up some flight miles because in a couple of months, you're going to be out of a job and it'll be nice to fly back home. Look, this whole thing that her purse was stolen and it's got $3,000 in it and her passport and her badge and her checks and all the rest of her stuff and her medications and her makeup bag. Something's not right about this, Rob. Something. Now, you and I are both known as conspiracy theorists, of course. Mm-hmm. So we would look into this with a scant eye to figure out what the problem is. But here's the larger point to me about all this.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance is a disaster. Visits the Pope, and we know what happens. Yeah. Donald Trump lies about the hand of a man that they're holding against Supreme Court orders.
Yeah.
The defense secretary is so incompetent that he's using Signal. And people who worked for him are out for him, and he's going to lose his job. The person in charge of Homeland, say it together, security. With Secret Service support, has her purse stolen from underneath her chair. I am not victim blaming here. I am simply saying this level of just incompetence is amazing. Now, if this man ends up being a world-class, international, Pink Panther-like diamond pickpocket, okay.
Panther.
If it ends up being a guy who was just walking through the restaurant, like, there's a purse there by that woman, I'm just going to grab it. And nobody saw it and nobody knew what was going on. And the guy had to freaking bend down and grab. It's just, we are 3 months into this administration. Some of these people haven't even been in their jobs for 90 days. And it's just a rolling disaster.
Only the best.
They're just all so bad.
Yeah.
And as fast as they put this out in the news, it's starting to feel like Representative Mace to me. Like they're doing something. It's just the fact that we can pull this off every week. You and I, with look, we wouldn't even have to try. We could just like open the app the morning of and be like, well, there's 5.
This.
5 complete disastrous behaviors by people who are given the power of the federal government, by people who want to dismantle the federal government for its inefficiencies. I mean, the other thing that happened today, which we will take some time in coming weeks to talk about, is that Trump signed this thing called something F, the letter F, which is going to allow him to remove civil servants if it goes through and just replace them with people that that are political, and it's just going to wreak havoc across the administration, starting with 50,000 people at first, and it's absolutely disastrous. All spelled out in Project 2025 and everything, and they're doing it. He signed it last night. That's now going to start rolling, and it's probably going to get tied up in court and probably won't be put into place. But they're also doing this incredibly damaging stuff. So at the same time, they're sitting inside of a crane with a wrecking ball, and they have all the power of that wrecking ball. And they're so buffoonery, incompetent, and dumb at the same time. And that is the worst. They have all this power. They have a bunch of people that have given them a map, and and then Donald Trump's just crashing the economy over and over. I don't know what the Dow ended at today, but earlier today it was down another 3%. Like, it's just terrible because he's going after the Fed chairman and is probably going to fire Chairman Powell from the Fed. It's just such an unbelievable disaster. But hey, happy Monday, everybody. So is that good for you?
Great. Did you have a happy Easter? Did you Did you go to church?
Twice.
Twice
On Sunday, as they say. Easter sunrise at the park right by my house, and then the church that I'm a part of.
Nice.
I'm preaching there in a couple weeks, so I had to see what the what the topic was going to be yesterday, and as predicted, I knew it. I could have written that one myself.
Was it about the flood?
Nope. It was resurrection stuff. Yeah. But it was great. It was a great sermon. Zach does a fabulous job. Zach Calvo. If you can find a Grace Trinity Church, if you want to see what I experienced, it uses a style of music that's not my personal style, so it's kind of a choral style, and it was so on point yesterday. People were laughing. It was so nailing it. Yeah, nice. Yeah, just utterly ridiculous. I had to pull my phone out in the middle of it and record about 12 seconds at the end because I'm like, this is just ridiculous. It was. Sometimes those things get real loud and boisterous and all that. So this was one of them. So just imagine if it was a rock band. Great. But not Christian music. I guess I won't get into my whole music thing. But okay, we good? Thanks everybody for being in the chat on a Monday afternoon. Edward, glad you could make it this time. I know you've been trying to get on.
Patrick. Yabbits, Jim.
Yep. Hey, Mary.
Alex.
You seem new. Mary might be new around here, but I
Shane
just think
Claiborne making an appearance.
Oh, hey, Shane. Terry. Ooh. I think about the people that do show up on Tuesdays, and they're gonna feel disappointed. They're gonna look at their stream. And they're gonna be like, "What? It happened yesterday."
Yeah.
Just a little problem with scheduling. All right, friends. Well, we'll be back. Maybe next Tuesday. It might just be Rob running solo. Maybe Rob and Dan. We can pull up a Rob and Dan podcast.
Yeah.
All right.